bad guitar techs. Who are they? Where are they? And what are they? Fuck. Bad guitar techs. Who are they? Where are they? And what have they done to your guitar? Oh yeah, I'm Batman.
Hello, and welcome to, or back to as the case may be, Winter Wind Productions. The title of this video is Bad Guitar Techs, Where the Music Ends. And yes, that is a play on Canada's coast-to-coast music retailer Long and McQuaid's slogan, Where the Music Begins. Now, to be clear, the purpose of this video is not to slag anybody off, but I believe in credit when it's due and criticism when it's valid. And in my experience, my hometown of London, Ontario has a distinct lack of good guitar techs. Here we are, early December 2021, and my main bass, in fact up until a few weeks ago, my only bass, my Hofner, it's been out of commission since April of this year. And believe me when I say I am not happy about being 8 months behind schedule in getting back into music. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about techs in general, and I'm going to talk very specifically about what happened to my poor Hofner. Now, a good guitar tech, a good luthier, they are worth their weight in gold, no question. Anybody can do a basic setup. Adjusting action, intonation, and relief is really no more involved than restringing your guitar. If you don't know how, learn. It's very simple. Save yourself some money. But when it comes to the more involved work, fretwork, or cutting and filing a nut or bridge saddles, I understand the theory, it's very simple and straightforward, but I don't have any hands-on experience. That's when I turn to the professionals. You know, the people that have been doing this for years that are supposedly competent, if not brilliant. And unfortunately, that has not been my experience. No. So I've dealt with 5 techs over the 30 plus years that I've been playing. One was brilliant, a wizard. One hit and miss, and 3, now I'm not going to name anybody by name. I will name a company if that tech worked for a particular company, but I will not name any individual tech that is in business for themselves. Now, well, let's talk about Long and McQuaid. Now, if you do a little Googling, you'll find it's hit and miss, but a lot of the misses are cautionary tales, if not outright horror stories. I have dealt with Long and McQuaid techs twice. For many years, almost 30 years, I was fortunate to take my gear to a tech, a luthier actually named Reiner. Absolutely brilliant. Unfortunately, well, fortunately for him, unfortunately for the guitar playing community here in London, about a year or so ago, he decided to semi-retire, pack up, and he and his wife moved back east to the Maritimes. Now, like I said, I've dealt with Long and McQuaid twice. The first time, well, it was actually because Reiner decided to close the shop that he was in and work out of his home. And he lived on the opposite side of the city from me. But there was a Long and McQuaid a couple blocks from where I was working at the time. So it was very easy for me, to take the guitar into work. On my lunch, run it down to Long and McQuaid. When it was ready, go pick it up on my lunch. And my old Sheraton needed a new nut. So took it in, picked it up, I think it was a week or so later, whenever it was. And I don't know what the hell this fella did to it, but it just rattled. It was this rattle that I could not find, I could not figure out. And so I took it back. I'm like, what the hell is this? It's rattling unplugged or through the amp. My wife doesn't even play, and she looks and it's like, oh my God, honey, what happened to your guitar? So they sent it to their tech to have another crack at it. And same fella, and came back the same way. And it's like, this is bollocks. Fix this. So they shipped it out of town to a different tech entirely. Came back a little less rattle, but still there. And what the hell happened? This was a perfectly fine guitar other than the fact that it needed a new nut. So I'm like, okay, I'm washing my hands of you guys. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what you're doing. And there was another tech, turned out, that lived and worked, fellow in business for himself, working out of his home. Apparently very highly regarded here in London. And he was a couple blocks from where I lived. So Long McQuaid was a couple blocks from where I worked. This other person's a couple blocks from where I lived. So I took it to him because it was easy to drop it off after work. Very convenient instead of going all the way across town. And this should have been a sign. And I don't know why this guy has a reputation of doing good work. So my wife and I go in, and he's like, all right, well, lay the case flat and open her up. And then he stands there and he straddles the guitar. And he's like, oh, well, I can see at least 3 things wrong with it right now. And my wife and I just kind of looked at each other like, okay, don't know what you're on, but the only thing you can diagnose with a bird's eye view is whether or not the headstock is snapped off and the neck's still attached to the body. But left it with him and picked it up. Nothing. I don't know what the hell he thought he did, but he didn't do anything. So I wound up taking it back to Reiner, very sheepishly going, I'm sorry, man, I cheated on you. And he just laughed and, all good, because I'd known him for, like I said, almost 30 years. But let's get on to the Hofner. Now, the reason I was willing to give Long McQuaid another chance after Reiner moved back east is because I asked him, okay, so the work they did on my one guitar, he's like, oh, the nut's brilliant. It's perfectly cut, perfectly filed. I couldn't have done any better myself. So I thought, okay, so did a brilliant job on that. Something weird going on the bridge, which Reiner, by the way, fixed in like 10 seconds. So I thought, okay, so you got that right, and I'll give you a second chance. So back in April, my Hofner needed some work. That is just the nature of guitars. They require periodic adjustments on the neck. They require periodic maintenance. Frets wear or they'll raise, depending on climate, and it's pretty hard to keep your guitar safely maintained in today's world, right? With the extreme heat and humidity that we're getting in the summers now. And so the G string was buzzing up around the 12th fret. And I play up around, the 10th, 12th fret a lot. I'm all over the neck on the bass. I will go up as high as I can. And I'm like, okay, Reiner's gone. This other guy, thinks he can see magic fairy dust on guitars or whatever, I don't know. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll give Long McQuaid another chance, And so I took it into them in April, and it was during the pandemic lockdown, so it was curbside drop off and pick up. You couldn't go into the store, and so I'd emailed the fella in advance, and then I also left a note saying, 1, I use flat wounds, they will last a lifetime, do not change the strings unless absolutely necessary. Yes, there is a spare set in the case, but don't use them unless you absolutely have to. And so it was a quick turnaround time. I think it was about 5 days. Yeah, I think less. I think I dropped it off on like April 15th and it was ready on the 19th, whatever the case may be. So I go to pick it up, and of course I'm having to test it in a parking lot. So I'm like, okay, well, the G string doesn't buzz anymore. That's good. Didn't really do the setup that you're billing me for because my bridge had to intonate counter. Usually you're closer to the bridge, on the bass side, and the treble side's closer to the neck, and mine was actually the opposite. Little weird quirk with my particular Hofner. But so the bridge was straight across, so it wasn't even intonated, so it wasn't set up, and they billed me for a setup. And the kid that brings my bass out to me hands me a bag and says, oh, here's your old strings. You can reuse them. We put the new ones on for you. Do you not read notes? Do not, when in doubt, call the customer to confirm intent? So I'm not happy about this. And then I get it home and it's buzzing and rattling like crazy. The only string that wasn't bad was the G string, but everything else was wrong. So, and I didn't notice this at first because new flats can take a while to break in. And B, I was testing out a new compressor pedal for my bass. And C, I didn't have a whole heck of a lot of time. I was busy with other things. But when I finally did get to a weekend to sit down and actually play, I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. What's going on? Now, one quirk with Hofner's, and let's be blunt, it's a shit design. If it wasn't for the Beatles, there'd be no Hofner basses anymore, unless it was like just this boutique retailer somewhere in Germany. But with the tailpiece design the way it is, you pretty much have to have the ball ends flat. If you got them all cockeyed, different angles, you're gonna get rattle from the tailpiece. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll fix that up first off. And so I'm slacking off the string, I'm slacking off the E string just to reseat it. Then tuning it back up, it snaps at the tuning peg. I'm like, oh, for God's sakes. So you've already sacrificed one set of strings that I told you not to take off unless you absolutely had to replace them. And so this new set, I've just busted the E string. I've never busted a bass string in my life. I think it's been 20 years or 15 since I last broke any guitar string, and that was the high G on a 12 string. So I'm not happy. So I emailed the manager. It was good. He wanted to make the situation right, so I absolutely appreciate that. And what happens is he comps me for the set of strings. Like, okay, well, they may have been defective, and this happens. You will get defective strings from time to time. So he comps me for the set of strings and refunds, the charge, the setup. And he's like, hey, we'd love to, give us a chance to make it right, bring it back. And I was like, I'm sorry, this is the second time I've brought something to you guys, and it's the second time this fellow has fixed one thing and caused another problem, so I'm sorry, I'm gonna take it to somebody else. So I took it to this other shop we have in town called Music City, Canada. And let me say, absolutely not impressed, would not recommend them. If you go to their website, they say, our techs have toured with such and such a band and done all this and that. So I take my Hofner into them. And first off, I have to wait because there's a shortage of strings. Nobody's got any labella flats, which is what I use. And so I'm having to order strings and wait for them to get shipped up from the States. And then they're telling me, oh, well, this set's also defective. So I had to order yet another set of strings. So I've now gone through over $200 worth of strings, like 50, 60 bucks for a set, right? So I'm not happy that I've gone through $200 worth of strings and I don't have a bass that I can even play. It's been sitting in the shop for weeks now waiting for the strings to come in. And then they finally call me up and they say, oh yeah, hey, it's all perfect now. And again, pandemic lockdown, can't go in and actually try it. I'm trying to figure it out in the parking lot, whether it's okay. And so as soon as I play it, it's like, yeah, okay, well, the problems that I had after I picked it up from Long Equator now gone, but my D string is fucked. I'm like, it's just a tailpiece, just wedge a piece of foam at it. And sometimes, you have to wedge foam. You will see lots of players, guitar, bass, whatever, they'll put foam in there because you got ghost notes, sympathetic resonance. But this is what I get back from Music City, Canada. Now, initially, I just had buzz when I first took it to Long McQuaid around, the 12th fret on the G string. Now, Music City, Canada, this is what I get. So it's fine, 5th fret. So, from the 6th fret to the 15th fret, the D string is absolutely useless. I'm not happy about that. So, there's this other shop in town, JJ's Music Sales and Repairs. I thought I'd give them a try. I'd never heard of them before. They're apparently very highly regarded. They have hundreds of reviews. Their overall rating is 4 point whatever out of 5 stars. So I gave them a call. And I said, listen, this is the problem. I've got some buzzing here, and I don't know what Music City did because the D string was perfectly fine until they worked on it. The previous problem was the G string, and there was this weird thunk on the E string. But I don't know what they did. I'm thinking maybe Long McQuaid's guy tapped down the fret, fixed it, but whatever they did undid what he did. So anyhow, I give JJ's a call. And I'm like, hey, this is the problem. And I checked with the fret rocker, clickety-clack, 10, 11, and 12th fret, right? So obviously something's not level. And I try JJ's, and this is what I get. First off, I describe the problem. I'm like, oh yeah, turnaround time 2-3 days. In fact, if you want to pay a little more, we can do it while you wait. I'm thinking, oh, well, damn, that's great service. No wonder you guys have got like a 4.5 star rating or whatever. So then I take the bass in, and I go, oh yeah, we can hear it. Oh yeah, that wasn't really bad. Don't worry, we'll take care of it. We'll get everything sorted for you. And so I think I dropped it off on a Monday or Tuesday, and they said 2-3 days on the phone. So on the Friday I call up, and the guy, well, what do you mean? It's not 2-3 days. It's 2-3 days if you want us to restring your guitar or do a basic setup. I'm like, well, I described the problem very specifically to the person that I talked to, and he told me 2-3 days. But if you're telling me 2-3 weeks, okay, fine, I can live with that. That's normal. I just thought you were superstars. So anyhow, 2 weeks go by. JJ's calls me up, leaves me a voicemail. It's like, hey, give us a call before you come out. So I give him a call, and this is what I get. Oh, yeah, unfortunately, it's not ready. We use diamond files, and we broke our last one, and we have to order them from Germany. And, it's probably going to be about 2-3 weeks, before they're in. But, excuse me. But, da-da-da. And I'm thinking, well, do you have space? Can I just leave it with you? I'm like, well, no, it'd probably be best, we don't have a lot of room. It'd be best if you come and pick it up. I was like, oh, well, I prefer to leave it because I'm a tree hugger. My wife and I choose not to drive. So that's, $50-$60 cab round trip. And they're like, oh, okay, we'll drop it off to you. And when our file's in, we will pick it up for you. You'll just have to come and get it yourself when it's done. I'm thinking, wow, okay, this is great service. You guys are awesome. So they drop it off. I wait a couple of weeks. I just make a follow-up call. I'm like, hey, how's it going? Have the files come in? Oh, we're so busy. I haven't even had time to order them. I don't know. It's probably not going to be until January, February before we get the files. So yeah, it's going to be at least a couple months before we're able to do any work for you. And I'm thinking, really? Okay. Absolutely not impressed here. For all that, I'd have gone to somewhere else. So here I'm in a situation where in a couple hours, I'm heading to Long and McQuaid. I'm taking my bass back to Long and McQuaid. I'm letting them have another crack at it, because the one thing I can say about Long and McQuaid, while I haven't had a stellar 5-star experience, they're hit and miss, fix one thing, mess something else up. Very worst case scenario, they are a national chain. They will at least stand behind it. They will, give you the refund or make it work. So the only thing I'm really losing here is time. If it doesn't work out, I've just lost a little more time, but we have a serious shortage of techs here in my hometown. And believe me when I say it's frustrating, and a good tech, a good luthier, like I said, worth their weight in gold. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do next. I guess pack it up, ship it off to, I don't know, maybe Cosmo Music in Richmond Hill, or maybe I'll call Reiner up out in the Maritimes and say, hey man, I'm going to ship my bass across a couple provinces to you. Hope you can fix it and ship it back. But I'll let you know what happens with Long and McQuaid. Who knows? It's my third time trusting one of their techs to do a job, so maybe third time's a charm, right? I'm praying. Well, I'm an atheist, so I'm hoping third time's a charm, and it's not 3 strikes and you're out. So stay tuned. There will be an update coming in about a week. Take care. Thanks for watching. If you did watch. Does anybody watch? I don't know. Peace.